Kid-Sized Pieces. My name is Miss A, and today we'll be talking about how to deal with difficult adulting situations. With that being said, let's get started, shall we? As adults, we've come to expect that we will deal with frustrating situations and or people. But I can bet for the most part that a lot of us feel that we're good people with nice dispositions who wouldn't harm a fly, even though that is not how we feel or how we behave in those situations. Every situation that we encounter requires a different approach, especially in frustrating situations. So, in this classroom discussion, I'm going to present to you 5 different scenarios that are frustrating that we've probably encountered or heard of. And then I'm going to present to you 3 different approaches and let you pick your best approach. And then I'll tell you what I believe is the best adulting approach and why. Okay, the first scenario I believe everybody can attest that they've experienced in one way or another is when you're minding your own business and someone out of the blue just is plainly rude to you and takes you by surprise. So, what do you do? Did you pick your answer? Well, I hope you picked A. Now, hear me out on this. The reason why A is the best answer is that although it's usually not our first instinct to either keep quiet or want to de-escalate a situation that we didn't even have any motives to bring about, it's important to remember that in this day and age, we don't know who we're dealing with or what they're capable of. B and C aren't the answers because whether verbal or physical, being abusive to another person will never de-escalate or handle the situation. It will in fact escalate the situation. And this day and age, you just don't want to be thrust into a situation where you're all of a sudden, going to jail or facing charges or paying, being sued because you physically assaulted someone. So make sure that you aren't using your words in a combative manner or your hands to handle someone who's being rude to you. Because it's the best way to hopefully diffuse a situation or at least leave the situation with no bodily harm. So, scenario number 2. You're at work and you're getting along for the most part with your colleagues, and then out of nowhere, your colleague says something rude to you, be it privately or publicly. What do you do? Did you pick your answer? Well, I hope it was C. But before I go into reasons why C is the correct approach, let me address A and B. If you picked A, which probably is most of our instincts, is to defend ourselves and also put them back in their place, it would probably be looked at that you are contributing to the issue of the day if it goes to a supervisor or human resources. B is the proper solution if after C has been taken. And I say this because even when we all have the right to work in a comfortable situation, if you are always going to the boss about every little infraction that someone does to you at work, you'll most likely be seen as unprofessional, because it's unprofessional to be too sensitive these days. People don't like to know that you can't just have a thick skin. So be mindful about when is the appropriate time to make or to bring a supervisor into play. Let me tell you why C is the best approach. C is the best approach because at the heart of the matter, it goes back to that age-old, advice of treating others the way you want them to treat you. And while your coworker didn't exactly exemplify that by talking to you in a manner that is unprofessional, to steer a coworker relationship back on track, it's best that you approach them in a manner that de-escalates the friction and gets them to understand from your point of view why that wasn't exactly the approach or behavior they should have done towards you. So make sure that you're approaching conflict with a sensible, mature manner, and hopefully they won't do it again. So scenario number 3 is for sure an experience we've all had when we've been on the phone with customer service of whatever situation we're trying to rectify, and we just feel like the person either is unconsciously being unhelpful because they don't have the answers, or straight out not being helpful because they don't care. So what would you do? Did you pick your answer? Well, I hope it was B. But before I go into why that is the best way to approach customer service that is basically not helping you, let me tell you why A is definitely not the answer, and while C might be an answer, but only after you've made a couple attempts. A is not the right answer because nothing guarantees you that you're not going to get what you asked for or help in any kind of way than being disrespectful and rude to people. Because while they might take a little bit of it, they're definitely not going to be inclined to go the distance, and you're never going to scare them into acting right. So let's try to avoid A at all costs, just for the sake of getting the solution and not the attitude that comes along with it. You don't want someone to help you begrudgingly. It's always nice to feel that whoever's on the other side of the phone actually wants you to win. Not only because it makes them superstars at work, but because they actually want to make your day better, whether they know you or they don't. So avoid A at all costs if possible. Don't let your ego go there. And C, I believe, is only the right answer after you approached it by trying to call back. Most times unless it's a very, boutique firm or service or, vendor, what have you, they've got multiple people answering phones. And so if you call back after realizing that you and the person on the phone are not going to get along, or that they're not just as helpful as they should be, you're most likely going to end up getting someone else. Now, I don't know about you, but with the flu breaking out, this next scenario is probably one that we would prefer to not encounter, but in case we do, we should all have in mind what we plan to do should it happen to us. Okay, scenario number 4. You're ordering food and you see it being prepared behind the counter, but the person who just took your cash without washing their hands or putting on gloves literally starts to make your food, what do you do? Did you pick your answer? Well, I hope you picked C. And before I go into the reasons why C is the correct answer, let me tell you that A is not the right answer because you don't want the person handling your food to have a funky attitude while they're handling your food. 1. 2, while it's decent approach to ask for a manager, you always need to at least give someone the benefit of doubt by allowing them to correct their mistakes, because most times people don't mean to mishandle food. And let's just say that they do mean to do what they did. Try not to tell them off. Just call the manager over and ask the manager to handle the situation. It's just a better way to go. And B is definitely not the right answer, because you definitely can't afford in this day and age to catch a flu virus of any, like flu strand of any kind. Or virus, excuse me. No one wants to be sick, basically. That's why B is not the right answer. And if you're passive about food and you're passive basically about people handling things that should be done in a certain manner, most likely you're always going to feel crappy about your experience. And if you're going to put your money towards something, you definitely want to feel like whatever you put your money towards, you've gotten the value from it. C is the right answer because everybody has the right to express their disapproval in whatever that they're putting their money towards and not getting the value of, per se, but you have to do it in a manner that is respectful and allows people to correct their ways so that it's a win-win situation, always. Scenario number 5 usually happens to us in a public situation that we can't contain or walk away from. That is, whether we're sitting down to eat food at a restaurant, or we're in public transportation, or we are on an airplane. And that scenario is when there is a parent or there are parents and there's a rambunctious child who's making a lot of noise, whether it's considered cute to some but annoying to others. It's just loud and you wish it would stop. What do you do? Did you pick your answer? Well, I hope you picked C. But before I go into why C is the best answer, let me tell you why A and B are not the best solution or approach to the situation. A is not the right answer because everybody has the right to be in a public place and enjoy it for whatever it's worth, be that food, a bus ride, or airplane ride. B is not the right answer because you're going to put the parent on defensive, and you want them to take responsibility and ownership as much as possible about the noise level without it becoming a combative situation verbally or physically between you and them versus them taking care of the child and making sure the child quiets down. So make sure that you are kindly approaching the scenario of a disruptive child. Well, that's it for today. Just a few suggestions on how to handle difficult situations. Thank you for attending class. Go ahead and do homework by subscribing to this channel and thumbs up in this video. My name is Miss A, and until next time, remember, you must be this tall to pay bills.